What I wanted to talk about today was the time-honoured sort of little quirk that we seem to have. Our eye tends to want to look for and get detail. So what I'm wanting everyone to more try and retrain or stronger, use a stronger training in training the eye to see a mass, not the detail, especially early on. So with this, I'd be saying, let's have a look at this whole big shape here. Even though we can see all the little trees and lovely little highlighted trees. So I'd be getting that big shape in first, this big shape here. Oh, by the way, this is the Blue Mountains, just west of Sydney. If you've never heard of it or seen it, if you're ever in Sydney, it's a spectacular place to visit. So it's almost sort of mapping out the big shapes, even though there's some lovely sort of cliff faces, and you can see why they call it the Blue Mountains. It really does have a lot of blue in its shadows, especially. So yes, I'll be mapping it out. Then when I want to block in, I'd be looking at the darks first, looking for those darks, looking for these dark shapes here, but also aiming to get a sense of depth by using the atmosphere, whatever atmosphere is available. Oops, that didn't quite pick up. Oh, wrong one. I'll get this guy here. There, you can see the distance, the difference in atmosphere from there to there, and it's probably not that far. It's probably only sort of 500 or 600 meters, but this is a great example of atmosphere as well. But then when coming to this background area, instead of sort of wanting to get all of these little shapes in, the trick is to concentrate on the most important one, the most important bit of light. And there's a nice little bit of light here. So let me just back out of all of those. And then that will then just set us up for primary focal point, secondary focal point, and then tertiary. So long as we get our modelling right on the trees, our drawing right for the shapes and shadows. See, there's a lovely little shadow across there. I haven't actually painted a scene from the Blue Mountains probably for 15 years. So this is actually prompting me to get back and have another go at one. And see, there's even information here. There's nice light on these trees. This really is for a mountainy type scene. This is pretty close to a classic that you would ever get to see. So then let's take this step one further. Actually, I should say I've mirror reversed this as well, just to line up with this next image. This is a painting by Theodore Penley Boyd. He was a Melbourne-born Australian painter from a famous family. His father and mother were both painters, Arthur Boyd Sr. and Emma Minnie Boyd. And there was a nephew, Arthur Boyd as well, but Theodore Penley Boyd was the one. So he's taken almost this scene or type of scene. This one's got a really lovely sort of foreground. So he's got one more step of depth and distance. But so he's put in those big masses, and notice how that he actually has faded that away. He hasn't felt as if, so that's the artistic interpretation that we're looking for. Even though we can see that does stay strong all the way, it's not necessary to actually have to do it. Penley, he's more known as Penley Boyd, not Theodore. He was just looking for those areas that were required to get the visual information or enough visual information to make it work. So he's gone probably 5 steps: sky, background land, then the mid-distance, the mid sort of foreground, and then the absolute foreground. Very simple scene, but he was a painter that was able to make the illusion that there was a lot there, even having a look through all of these lovely little marks. He truly was one of my favourite painters of all time. So we'll just bring up a couple more. This one's from Portsea. I have actually painted here over the years, and Sorrento, which is actually in the distance. This is the Portsea ferry here. This was Penley died in 1922, I think, or 23. So this was only a year or two before he died. And sadly, he only lived to 36, dying in a car accident. But once again, he's divided it beautifully up into passages, so he gets that clear definition of distance. He's done the big masses and then only put enough information to tell the story that's required. There's always the temptation. Have a look at that nice bit of architectural design on branches and tree trunks. That's a lesson in itself there in just simplification. So we'll then bring up the next one. He did do sort of quite a lot of similar sort of paintings, especially from Portsea. This one's probably either around, I'm actually not sure which jetty this would be. I actually forget, but it is definitely the Portsea Sorrento area. But I think what makes this scene spectacular when you think how simple it is, beautiful sky, but it's obviously that's that light on the water. So we always go looking for those big, big scenes, and we tend to neglect a more simpler scene. But he's got those masses working beautifully for him. Massive shape here, and that mass there helps with the perspective, helps with our understanding of depth and distance. When you think these foreground foliage and trees are really just the same size as some of these here, but so he would be a painter who painted masses, so he got that massive underpainting, and then he just needed to come through the dark mass and then cut through with a little bit of highlight on top. He didn't even use much temperature there. It was more just shape and value. And painting technically is a recipe. So long as we don't have too much of the same recipe and just being able to paint 2 or 3 different scenes, where Penley was able to paint city scenes, portraits. He was a great watercolourist as well. So once again, he's broken it down. He's got that mass and then just added those lovely little bits of detail, those lovely little specks of light. And he's got a great contrast, little specks of light, once again, perspective, directional lines. So he really had it all in his work, even though he didn't get a full career's worth lifespan of work. And once again, here's another super simple scene, but just nice big splash of light. And he would have blocked in that big mass of the tree, placed it on that close to 1/3, maybe it's only a quarter up. But this is truly one of the simplest scenes that you'll ever probably get to see. It's just one tree, but he's made it a visual delight. And that's why once we get that structure right, then we're able to bring in the detail. A lot of people over the years have said I frowned on detail, but I absolutely love detail. So once again, we just put it in at the right time, at the right place, at the right time. So I'd love everyone just to sort of just reassess how you think and how you approach a scene. And it's never too late, too soon to sort of readjust how you approach something. And I think this is one that will definitely go a long way to helping you with your journey and your approach to painting, especially when the scene gets more and more technically difficult. That's when our technique becomes even more important. When it comes to art, there is no single right or wrong answer. However, there are still a lot of concepts and techniques that students need to learn to create a strong visual language. This course is designed to help you develop and find your own visual language so that you can start expressing yourself more confidently, because over the years I've studied and noted the areas where students tend to struggle the most, and then I've delved deeply into these topics. So we will cover the basics of colour, edge, how to achieve a strong contrast from light to dark, focal points, and creating depth so that you can start to use it effectively in your work. I'll demonstrate a wide range of subjects
which I believe will broaden your horizons and allow you to gain experiences that you may have only dreamed of trying. By the end of this course, you'll have a better understanding of how to express your own visual language and create artwork that is both successful and expressive. I invite you to join me for an exciting year of learning and exploration.